лалкаешь, то щезновение, то теряющиеся, и покиньская груда склонясь. Побух. Да, побух.
Battle for Earth begins.
Anything else that might get in the way of our ideal must be destroyed immediately.
The ultimate enemy has arrived. Their single purpose, destroy our world.
I'm sure God would understand the steps we're taking.
Those who oppose them, die.
If this mission fails, if we are unsuccessful, we have no future.
We've had enough! Isn't it about time people realize the ones posing the most threat are none other than yourselves?
This is the result of natural.
What this is war.
Commence destruction.
Now, these pirates will shake the foundations of the Alliance and change the course of history. If they can stay alive,
Those Gundam pilots are desperate. They'll gladly give the news forfeiting their lives. Mission accepted. Of course not.
Just like it is with the stars, there are bright ones and there are those that are dim.
both sides prepare for the final battle. Suit up.
Nothing good can ever come from staying with normal people.
Be very careful.
Mankind has reached the stars.
There has to be some form of punishment.
Love the women that face plastic. Those are the ones that love me. I'm out! Get set! Go! But I'm surging with women. Hillary Clinton's a bigot. He would not be my first choice, that I can tell.
You think you'll be in jail?
Would I approve waterboarding? You bet your ass I approve.
And I'd bring back a hell of a lot worse than waterboarding. Go home to mama.
This system is rigged!
Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
I guarantee you there's no problem.
I think we should take a drug test prior to the I never heard that one before.
Circuitry and metal, cold and emotionless, carry out tasks without conscience. Robots, thousands, programmed for destruction. March towards the future is coming. Man's greatest inventions, making the impossible possible, are no longer under our control.
Technological strength will just become a threat to the Earth.
This new breed of technology makes humanity obsolete. Robots, thinking, acting on their own, begin their march toward domination. These machines, built by man, serve no one. The robots among us, watching, waiting, calculate their new world order. Their time is coming. They cannot be stopped.
Attention, strange weapons are approaching. Attention, strange weapons are approaching.
With perfect weapons and superior intelligence, robots rule this planet. Let the fall of mankind give way to a new age.
This knew what fall of man would do anyway.
Century 0079. The 1 year war rages on. Spacenoids against Earth dwellers.
I'm gonna drive the Xenon forces right off here.
Zeke against Faye.
Not bad for a betting, but I bet you're not ready for this!
As both sides prepare for the final battle.
Run for it!
The secret love of two enemies may be mankind's only hope for peace.
You're no better than they are.
We're in a fight, well, There are endless possibilities stretched out before you.
And to trust in your own power.
Whatever happens from now on, you stand firm and face your destiny without fear, but with courage.
What awaits him down the path, he will then have to choose.
No one's gonna give you a map. You've got to walk your own path.
Children leave their homes in search of this quest.
What is thy desire?
As they search, they are always asking questions. What's out there? What's waiting for me?
Why was I made? Who made me? And what did they make me for?
Are you gonna go up into space with your old man or not?
Maybe I'll never get over this.
I've lived my life following my dreams, and I don't have any regrets.
You're gonna just keep running away?
Just keep running away?
So they're gonna have to take
I'm
my
not
life
running.
before they take my people. We ain't taking it.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Believe in yourself and create your own destiny. Don't be a failure.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him
Excuse me, bro.
cook.
You're excused.
And that's your bro.
Hey everyone, what's up? I fixed my mic. Hey, happy Friday everyone, it's good to see you. It's good to see you out there. Wow, you guys are all looking mighty handsome today. Mighty... That was a joke, you guys are looking really gay. Welcome to Controlled Substance. I'm your host, Orphan. We have quite the show for you today. Not only is France literally having a gigantic race war right now, but apparently we have the most based and red-pilled Supreme Court of all time. For those of you that don't know, they overturned Roe v. Wade. They just said blacks can't go to Harvard. They said that you don't have to serve gay people anything anymore. And this is all within not very long at all. So is this Trump's doing from the grave? Is it... Well, I mean, that's what it is, right? It's all Trump. You know what's not Trump? Immigrants destroying France. But more about that soon. Today, I have a nice little scotch and soda, so we might get some spicy stuff going today. I hope not too spicy. I would like to stay on YouTube. But we'll have to see about that one. We will dive right into it. It's going to be a casual Friday, just hanging out, doing our thing. Start off with some blue pills. How about that? Okay, first thing is first. Michelle Obama. Good old Michelle Obama, Michael, as I like to call her. She says, I wanted to share some of my thoughts on today's Supreme Court decision on affirmative action. This was yesterday. Maybe she posted the tweet today, but the decision was yesterday. We'll browse through this real quick. Back in college, I was one of the few black students on my campus. I was proud of getting into such a respected school. I knew I'd worked hard for it, but still, I sometimes wondered if people thought I got there because of affirmative action. I'm wondering the same thing. It was a shadow that students like me couldn't shake. Okay, I just got to read through this without making jokes. Whether those doubts came from the outside or inside our own minds. But the fact is this: I belonged. Semester after semester, decade after decade, for more than half a century, countless students like me showed they belonged too. It wasn't just the kids of color who benefited either. Every student who heard a perspective they might not have encountered, who had an assumption challenge, who had their minds and their hearts open, gained a lot as well. It wasn't perfect, but there was no doubt. It wasn't perfect, but there's no doubt that it helped. Is she writing to her diary? There's no doubt that it helped offer new. Just imagine. Okay, I can't help myself. Just imagine this is at the end of a movie after they've made their grand story arc. All the characters have changed. Every student who heard the perspective they might not have encountered, who had an assumption challenged, who had their minds and their hearts opened, gained a lot as well. It wasn't perfect, but there's no doubt that it helped offer new ladders of opportunity for those who throughout our history have too often been denied a chance to show how fast they can climb. Beautiful, beautiful writing. Of course, students on my campus and countless others across the country were and continue to be granted special consideration for admissions. Some have parents who have graduated from the same school. By the way, that is most of them. Others go to high schools with lavish resources for tutors and extensive standardization test prep that help them score higher on college entrance exams. We don't usually question if those students belong. So often, we just accept that money, power, and privilege are perfectly justifiable forms of affirmative action, while kids growing up like I did are expected to compete when the ground is anything but level. So today, my heart breaks for any young person out there who's wondering what their future holds and what kind of chances will be open to them. And while I know strength and grit that lies inside kids who have always had to sweat a little more to climb some ladders, I hope and pray the rest of us are willing to sweat a little too. Today is a reminder that we've got work to do, not just to enact policies that reflect our values of equity and fairness, there it is, but to truly make those values real in all of our schools, workplaces, and neighborhoods. If you're interested, here's some places. Whoops. So, if it wasn't clear enough, Michelle Obama wants there to be affirmative action so that people like her and Obama can get into the White House and drone strike people. It's just not fair that not everyone has equal opportunity to drone strike foreign nations, you know? And I agree with her. I think that everyone should have the right to be able to launch off as many drone strikes as their little hearts could desire. And I hate that people have to work to get test scores. You know? I don't like that people have to work hard to get a high test score so that they can get into college. I think that's just crazy. Of course, this all boils down to equity. Equity is the main idea here, and equity is very, very toxic. And I choose that word carefully because it, as an idea, it basically just means that you have to you have to even everyone out. And because the world is how it is, you have to take from one group to give to the other. And which group was being taken from? Well, primarily whites. They were the most overperforming group for how many people were in school. And I don't know if this is Ivy League or just Harvard or universities, but I think the same holds true because we can see it in other sectors as well, where in order to help black people do better, and whether you want to say that's innate in their race or whether you want to say it's because of cultural differences, you know, that's a completely separate argument, but the fact is that black people do not get as high a test scores, so they need to take from someone else to give them higher test scores to let them into college. I think equity is just a garbage idea in general because there is no equity in the world. It doesn't exist. It's a utopian construct made up by people who want to enact policies in their favor. Michelle Obama is not... I need to look more into her background, but I can guarantee you that she did not make it to where she is today by a little affirmative action. She is 100% right in her premise that nepotism, wealth, legacy, admissions, like these are the main problem. She insinuates that this is white people doing it because that is always the insinuation. And it's true in some cases, but the vast majority, particularly of Ivy League schools' admissions, are all transport meisters. Again, another rabbit hole we can explore down a little bit, but Ivy League schools, whether there's affirmative action or not, are just farms for elites. And you're basically a shoo-in if your parents went to a particular school. That's almost entirely the prerequisites for getting into the schools. And the small amount of affirmative action or non-affirmative action minorities that get into these colleges, they're tokens for the most part. So this is all kind of a big virtue signal saying that, like, don't stop believing in yourself. And, like, I just completely disagree that, it's also, like, equity in outcome is not the same. Do we not want everyone to have good test scores who gets in schools? I think in the same way that we got rid of affirmative action, we should get rid of nepotistic admissions. I believe that wholeheartedly. Like, I think that this should be just purely a merit-based thing. But then you see a tweet like we saw yesterday. The liberal woman said, well, how are blacks going to compete in a purely merit-based system? And it's like, okay, well, that's uncomfortable. Nobody wants to talk about that, so they want to pretend everyone can be equal. We did a whole show on this yesterday, so if you guys want to dive into it a bit more, you can check that one out. One of the more interesting takes I saw from Laura Loomer was that this sounds like Michelle Obama may be running for president. I don't know. I don't exactly make that jump, but people have speculated it for a long time now. It would make sense, particularly with how gross Biden is, and Kamala Harris is just a complete dud. She's just a blowjob machine. Michelle Obama is obviously a transgender male, so you hit a bunch of different categories there, and the most important part, right, is just that people on the left like her. They like her personality. Her and Obama were superstar celebrities, and so no matter what they're saying, if they're on the left, they're gonna have a good chance at winning, at running. All right, next up, rapid fire through this a little bit. Oh, this is part of the same thing. So Benny Johnson tweets, photos have just leaked of Michelle Obama currently vacationing on a massive private yacht on a private island in Greece. This means that the Obamas were rage tweeting about being oppressed and victimized after the affirmative action ruling from a luxury yacht. And that's incredible. It's the same. It's exactly the same with climate change, right? These people are never going to give up anything that they're doing. They're never going to stop flying private. They're never going to stop buying yachts. These are all just tactics to get people fighting and to keep normal people down from climbing the ladder. So I just assume. I assume everything out of these people's mouths is from a yacht. And apparently it's just a safe assumption. Next up, this is another ruling. 6-3 vote. Once again, I think it was the same group. Supreme Court has officially ruled that businesses have the right to discriminate against LGBTQ plus Americans. What this means is that you don't have to make any gay cakes if you don't want to. You don't have to anymore. And I think that it also means that gay-owned establishments don't have to serve like Christians or whatever. But if we're being honest, almost every business is Christian-owned in this country. It's like most all of them. And so if we're gonna play that game, then we're gonna. Ooh, thanks, Young. Young says I'm looking cinematic. So if we're going to play the game of discrimination, I'm pretty sure white business owners are going to win that one. White Christian business owners are going to win against the gays. But they're welcome to try. You know, go for it. I just saw that take quite a bit. But either way, I mean, like, if you own a business, you shouldn't be forced to do anything. I completely agree with that. So it's another huge W for the Supreme Court. This was a little crazy, too. Check this out. Apparently a streamer, Blaustoise, believes that incest isn't wrong. And
consensually, and they agree to use the proper protection, not conceive a child. What reason can you give me that that's wrong? Oh no! Besides just saying it's icky or weird. Yeah, you guys will just say it's icky. It
is icky and
incest.
weird.
Yeah, but what is bad about it?
Things being icky and weird are bad in and of themselves.
Assuming they can't have children, and assuming there was no power dynamic growing up.
What? What does that mean?
Even if they're blood related. It's the same blood. Why is that? That's not a moral argument, though. You know what I mean? It's literally illegal. So it being illegal makes it morally bad. There have been many things in human history that have been illegal that I don't think we could argue are morally bad. Someone said it's fucking consent.
Okay, that is a crazy take. So I have a crazy take to go right along with it. This guy should be put in jail forever. Ta-da. But for real, there's two takes on this, right? One, he doesn't seem to understand genetics or how birth control works, or how morality works, really. Like, he doesn't really seem to get the whole picture, but he is not wrong insofar as this is what individualism gets us. Because he's right. Like, if everyone is an individual, these two people consent, they magically make sure that they'll never have a kid ever. Impossible, by the way. And like, should they be able to have sex? Like, if you're a full-on, classical liberal, then yeah, the answer is yes. It makes sense. It's the same argument with gays. It's the same argument with everything that we talk about all the time on this stream. So his thinking is completely in line with the logical conclusions that this liberalism ends you up at. And you can start to see where things break down a little bit. Anyone with any sort of moral conscience would realize that banging your sister on the reg is not a morally good thing to do. And this is based on Christian morality, because I don't know, maybe back in the day, Game of Thrones wants to tell you that everyone was banging everyone back in the day, but like, I don't think that was. I know there was some blood purity in like royal lineage, but besides that, I don't think many people were banging their sisters. But there is no argument. He is correct. There is no argument if you believe that people have the right to do whatever they want between two people. He's right that there's no argument against that, if that's your presupposition. And this is where we're going to start getting into real dicey territory very quickly, because incest and soon to follow pedophilia are going to be fought for if we continue down this path, because there is no argument against them if you take into account sovereign individuals. And that's completely wrong on the face for any normal person. For anyone who believes there is a God, you can't believe that you should bang your sister and kids, you know? So again, it comes back to the question, like, are we a Christian moral country, or are we a globalist, agnostic, individualist country? There's only two paths forward, and one needs to win over the other, because they cannot live together. When they live together, people who don't fully understand the conservative line of thinking will draw arbitrary lines at places like this, and they'll say, well, that's too far. And it's like, why? Well, it's too far because it's weird. They have nothing to point to. Their argument is invalid. It doesn't make sense. So these people are going to keep winning until we can take a step back, look at the Bible, and say, like, hey, don't bang your sister, dude. And he's like, why? I'm a sovereign individual. It's like, no, check it out. Check it out. Don't do that. It's not cool. Same with kids. Man, I'm nervous because, like, pedophilia it is starting to, and it will become more advocated for. And that conversation is just so messed up. You're fooling yourself if you think you can be autistic enough to think that kids should be able to consent to sex. Like, you're gone, man. That's too far gone. It's too far gone right now, honestly. I think gay marriage is too far gone. But it's inarguable that pedophilia is too far gone. So, anyways, I thought that was interesting. I thought it was kind of indicative of the slippery slope that we're careening down. Because he makes the same argument that people make for transgenders, that make for gay marriage. Like, he's making the exact same argument, except for incest. And what he's saying is exactly true. What are you going to say? It's gross? It's like, from his perspective, that's the only argument. But you gotta take into account some morality in this bitch, you know? Next up, a little sad stat. I'm just going to show this to you because I can't say it without getting kicked off of Twitter. Or not Twitter, YouTube. So just take a gander at this while I have a drink. just imagine what happened in 2020, 2021. I'll let you make your own conclusions here, but pretty powerful chart if you ask me. Oh, wait, there's the dates. You can see the dates now. So, not going to elaborate on this, just know that this exists, and it's pretty messed up. Next up, I thought this was, I mean, obviously it's gross, but it's also kind of funny. So, just in, video emerges of transgender purportedly attempting to meet up with a 13-year-old girl in Colorado.
Shopping.
You're going to take her shopping?
Yeah.
No,
I never...
My name's Tommy. I'm with Colorado Pet Patrol, all right? What we do is we monitor the internet for adults lurking for minors.
I'm not looking for a minor.
How old is this person you were talking to?
13.
Okay, so that's a minor.
13?
In the
I
state
was
of
going to take
Colorado.
her shopping.
You're going to take her shopping?
Yeah.
No,
I never said anything else.
no saying about kissing, nothing like that?
Kissing, there's nothing wrong with that.
Again, if you lie, I'm just calling the police,
I'm not
okay?
lying.
There's nothing
What
wrong
drink
with
did you
kissing
bring to this
kids,
little
by the way.
I forgot it.
What was it?
It was a spinner.
A spinner?
Yeah, kids like spinners, don't they?
You were meeting a 13-year-old who you said you could
Okay. Pause. Gross.
teach how to have sex in a truck.
I never...
Do you want me to read it to you?
We don't need to go through the entire thing here, but really gross. Really gross. Men do this as well. I don't know how many women pedophiles there are. Well, this is a man. What am I even talking about? Dude, I've been brainwashed. This is a dude dressed up as a woman. Oh, they got me. Oh, they got me, dude. I hate when that happens. Anyways, if you have kids, keep them off the internet because people like this are just, they be out there. Good on these guys trapping pedos, though. I don't know how it proceeds from here, if they just go to jail or if they have to like do something to go to jail, but either way, this is the Daily Roundup. That is our blue pill for today. Let's get into our main story. How about that? Let's get into the main one.
It's I love you, but it's still up.
All right. We're going to have Daily Stormer taking us through the meat and potatoes here, and then we have a bunch of Twitter videos to watch. But today's black pill, today's black and red pill story is about France being literally on fire everywhere. Who is doing it? Refugees, immigrants, Muslims, and black people. Why are they doing it? Well, you see, they're doing it because of a pseudo George Floyd situation. Check this out. This is the video. Okay. Traffic stopped. Dude tries to just gun it while the officer is on the window. Gets shot. Okay. So this is the video. I'm pretty sure this is the legit video. I can't quite tell because there's French, you know? But did that guy need to shoot him? I don't know. I mean, I think legally that the car is a deadly weapon at that point. I don't know what interaction is going on between them right now in this video. I don't know all the details. The real question is, does this justify all of this? Literal explosion. Look, just in all of France is just on fire. How crazy is this? Okay, that dude probably died. They burned down an entire library, apparently.
C'est quoi ce bordel, frère?
Mal dominant partie 2, cousin.
How crazy is this? Have you guys seen any of these videos today? I haven't done a deep dive, but I haven't seen this on mainstream sources yet. I'm sure they're talking about it, but I don't think they're showing quite the extent of what's going on. Just a crane on fire. Looting, of course. I mean, this is crazy. And we've seen this before. This is the library, I believe. And then we got this one. It's spreading. This is in Lyon. Fire, fireworks, mobs. Oh, this is awesome. Check this. This looks like a scene from Batman, man. It's a big old military Hummer driving through the city. Like, this is happening. This started last night. It's happening right now. And then, okay, if anyone doesn't want to see something graphic, then turn away. But I'm going to show this because it's crazy. Rioting immigrants chopped off a French man's hand. I don't even know if this is real. Maybe it's not real. But if it is real, then crazy. It might not. This is kind of a joke account, so could be wrong. But check this out. Let's go through it a little bit. Let's try and break down what's happening. Earlier this week, the cops killed an Arab youth who was fleeing the scene of a traffic stop. His mother filmed it, demanded a revolution, and the collective brown population obliged her. A revolution they have now. Though the riots center around the suburb of Nanterre. That's not going to be right. The entire city is on fire in what can no longer be called riots. The immigrants are killing cops, seizing their weapons. It's now a war. Of course, this is the age of total censorship. We can't really confirm what is happening on the group beyond what we see on video. It's very similar to George Floyd in that it's a dumb race hoax drummed up by the media to push hatred and violence against whites. And that does seem to be what's going on. Take a little trip down memory lane with me. Do you guys remember the summer of George Floyd? Do you remember the media gaslighting you literally every day saying these were peaceful protests? Like, most people, these are mostly peaceful protests. Like, yeah, there's a couple bad eggs. And then you look at video anywhere but mainstream news and everything is on fire. Building after building are getting looted. Business owners are having to bring in militias in order to protect their merchandise. It is counter-narrative for them to say that France and Europe as a whole has let in an unprecedented amount of immigrants and refugees that are non-native. Most all of them are from Africa, if not the Middle East, and they do not have European Western values. They do not have European Western culture. And so when they have an excuse to go out and steal a bunch of cars, burn down a library, they're going to. What looting is nothing but just an excuse. It's like a riot covers your looting. A looting is just greed within. If you actually cared about a cause, you're not going to loot anything. You're going to go and you're going to protest. You're going to make your voice heard. What is taking a bunch of merchandise and TVs from a store going to prove anything? And it's another racially motivated resistance. This time it's just across the pond, and it's not a black person who got killed. It's a Muslim. It's a refugee. Continuing on in the article, From what we are seeing, this is by far the single worst race riot ever in all history. And I say because Arabs are organizing directly against the cops. They have a clear military goal. It is much closer to the first battle in a war. Some videos here. There are two clear sides. Whites are being targeted by non-whites. Not only the cops are fighting, they're wearing all black, a uniform, and attacking their racial enemies. And you can see this by what they're targeting as well. You know, they're all building collapsing. Just trying to get through all these clips. We watched a good chunk of them. Yeah, it was a long article. Holy smokes. And these are all just things on fire and people like getting lynched. And I'm exaggerating when I say people getting lynched. I haven't actually seen anyone getting lynched. Okay, here we go. No cops, no journalists left in this part of the city. The war is taking place. No one knows how many fatalities there have been. Yeah, so apparently what I've heard, I heard two sides, right? I heard that 40,000 cops were let out into the city to try and stop it. And then I heard that they got pulled back because things were way too out of control. The latest news is that cops arrested 800 people today. It's not even clear that this is true. If it is, it would have had to been on the outskirts. No cops are going into the shit in Nanterre. Okay, so absolutely crazy. I don't think I've seen anything like this. I don't even think George Floyd was this bad. And the whole George Floyd riot situation was like, well, it wasn't really the same, was it? It was kind of, I don't know. This is what's so hard about stories like this. And this is what's so hard about stories like we saw in Russia, with the coup. It's almost impossible to get any information on anything that the mainstream media doesn't want you to, right? Everyone complains about the mainstream media, but there's barely any news sources, legitimate news sources, and you don't even speak French, so you can't get it straight from the source from France. Same with Russian. You can't get it straight from the source from Russian telegrams. And even that is a lot of hearsay. So this is why a democracy is just literally impossible, particularly in a multicultural global society. Even if you were to say you had free information, even if you were to say you have free information, you can't learn every single language in the world in order to translate the information directly from the source. So you have to rely on a mediator at some point. And if that's the case, you will always be getting biased information. There is no way around it. And so how do you expect people to make educated decisions when all of their input is tainted? That's one problem with this, right? But based on what we are seeing, it looks like all of these refugees that Europeans have been complaining about for the past 10 years have finally just snapped and started just trying to take over the city. This is not the first time that that immigrants have been a problem. And we'll dive into the red pill a little bit. Check this out. By the end of 2016, nearly 5.2 million refugees and migrants reached European shores from Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and other countries torn apart by war and persecution. Since 2015, Europe has dealt with increasing numbers of asylum seekers, with 2.4 million refugees and people in refugee-like situations, and 860,000 asylum seekers hosted in EU 27 member states at the end of 2018. UNHCR submitted 20,400 refugees for resettlement consideration and supported 10,000 people to depart to other countries globally, an increase of 37% over 2021. The number of forcibly displaced and stateless people in Europe rose to 21.8 million by the end of 2022, including almost 12.4 million refugees, 1.3 million asylum seekers, 7.2 million internally displaced people, and almost 500,000 who were stateless. The majority of refugees from Africa and Asia do not come to Europe, but rather move to neighboring countries without migration. The European population would have shrunk by 500,000 in 2019, given that 4.2 million children were born and 4.7 million people died in the EU. Right? So refugees, immigration is out of control, and this backs it up, right? So we have here a chart from 2010 to 2021. I guess that's when the last survey was taken. Look at the chart of refugees granted asylum. It's just straight up. They're just granting more and more. Every year it's growing. 2013, there must have been a law or something, but besides that, every year since 2012, it's just been going up. And this is people they're letting in per year, right? This is not total amount of immigrants. This is granted asylum. So this is new people entering Europe. And then check this out, too. This is where we start to get into the trouble. The details of the study done by Professor Sundquist, and the title of this is Sweden's Lund University researchers faces prosecution for study that showed most rapes are committed by immigrants. Check this out. The paper titled Swedish Rape Offenders, a Latent Class Analysis, was published in February 2021. The conclusion of the study was based on a little over 3,000 rape convicts between the period of 2000 and 2015. It is noteworthy that the data does not include the influx of migrants from the Middle East and Africa from 2015 till that date. That increased exponentially due to the unrest in those regions. So this isn't even the full picture. Study conducted because, as appears paper introduction, there was an increase in the rates of sexual crimes, including rapes in the country. Quote, knowledge of who the offenders of these crimes are is therefore of importance for prevention, it added. So basically, people just noticed there were a lot more rapes going on. They're like, why? In general, they were just like, why is this going on? As per researchers involved in the study, the aim of the study was not to specifically target the ethnic background, but to see if they had anything common among them, such as employment, social status, health issues, and more. The ethnic profile of the culprits was among the supporting data, but it was not possible to ignore. Quote, immigrants were just a variable, and it turned out to be quite a remarkable discovery, as there were many immigrants and foreign-born people in this group. During the data analysis, the researchers found that out of 3,000 offenders included in the study, 60% were immigrants. Out of these, almost 50% were born outside of Sweden. The researchers recommended further investigating the higher number of immigrants indulging in sexual crimes and taking contextual characteristics of these offenders into account during further studies. So, 60% of rapes are immigrants in Sweden. 50% were not born inside of Sweden. And then these people are getting prosecuted because they're racist. Because they literally just tried to look into who's doing all the raping. Those stats are crazy. Yeah, indulging. I'm a rape enjoyer. This is time for my classic bit. The classic bit. Why are they not called rapers? Think about it a second. You have artists, pianists, has a sense, an air of sophistication, of technical ability. You have workers, you have plumbers, you have, these are all things that are low skill jobs, less sophistication. And yet they call people rapists like they're performing some sort of art performance. They should be called rapers. There's no way around it, and I will die on this hill. There is no shot that I'm calling anyone a rapist ever again. They are rapers. They do not deserve the title of ist. That's just common sense. And these are the things we need to be thinking about. So this stat's crazy. Immigration is such a bad idea. There is no positive to immigration. The United States is doing the exact same thing. We're doing the exact same thing with our southern borders. We're just opening them up for literally anyone who wants to come in. We're replacing the demographic that built this country and made it great. What does Europe and what does the United States have in common? These are both white Christian societies that took over the world because of their inventions, their technology, their academia. Like they just did it best. And then now, because of people who have completely surpassed that, who have taken over and subverted these countries, now they're being rotted away from the inside by letting in anyone and everyone. And you end up, you necessarily end up with George Floyd, you end up with what's going on in France right now, because a country needs to have a binding factor. And when all of that has been destroyed, like it has been, race is the only thing that people have left to turn to. And so you're going to get people who look to the left and to the right of them and they say, hey, we both came from Mexico and we don't like what's going on, so let's go do something about it. The only group of people that's too pussy to do anything about it are the people who built these countries. And it's because they've gotten complacent and they've been tricked. This is why people were so upset when the Founding Father statues were getting toppled. Civil War statues were being toppled. This is our history. This is what led to our country being as great as it once was. Why are we destroying that? Invaders always come in. The first thing they do is they destroy monuments, because that is the symbolic representation of complete takeover. So the whole point here is you can't expect to bring in year over year more and more immigrants, more and more refugees, particularly of different racial and cultural backgrounds than you, and not expect a giant race war to break out. The same people who look at this and say that this is just people mad over a teen dying, they'll look at it and they'll say that like race doesn't mean literally anything. And then they'll just watch everyone divide on racial lines and have a literal race war in France. And they'll say, well, yeah, it's just all about justice for this traffic stop guy who tried to run over a policeman or flee the police, you know? It's like, no, this falls in line with everything that I say. This is just a natural extension of everything I talk about on this show. And if we don't want entire countries to be destroyed and looted, we need some sort of homogeneity within our cultures. The problem right now is that the childless, globalist billionaires and millionaires who run our countries, they don't care if this happens. And not only that, they like it when this happens because it doesn't affect them. It only keeps division down low from people being able to take their spot. it's just terrible. It's terrible for everyone, and nobody should have to endure this. Nobody should be for this. It doesn't make any sense, and it's just a giant trick being played on real people. In our case, with George Floyd, real Americans, and with France's case, real French people, real Europeans. So this is the type of stuff that just is, it's so easy to see it coming, and it's so sad that nobody is willing to stop it. You know, it's just really frustrating to think about because it is preventable. All of this is preventable. People just don't listen, and they don't think for themselves, and they're too distracted with all of the modernities of life to take a step back, look at what they're seeing, and be like, oh, this isn't going to go well. And the people who do that, still, they don't have any power because we literally don't have a democracy. There is nothing to change it. It's just hard to watch because, like, do you know how many people's lives are being ruined? Do you know how many lives are being taken? How many lives are being ruined? Imagine if you're a store owner and you're just trying to make ends meet. You're getting absolutely boned by the government in taxes. You have to pay everyone's Social Security, which is going to fall out by the time that they even go to collect it. You have to pay for, like, workers' comp and for insurance. You have to pay your own taxes. You're barely making it, and you're trying to build a dream. You're trying to make what they told you was achievable in this country. And I'm talking about America specifically right now, thinking back to George Floyd. And then a fentanyl addict who makes banana mayonnaise sandwiches and had just tried to pawn off counterfeit bills at a convenience store. He, from what every side, every reasonable side, he dies of both asphyxiation, but primarily fentanyl. This man dies, a common criminal, a thug, a lowlife, someone who in any other time and place people would be happy to die. This person dies, and then your business the next day gets all of its windows broken, every ounce of merchandise in it stolen. Your life gets ruined for what? For a criminal martyr that elites who will not see a single backlash of this entire situation, they are the ones who sent out the propaganda saying that the people should riot, that it's a just cause, that things need to change, the police need to be defunded. How fucked up is that? That's so messed up. And the same thing is going on with French people right now, and with Europeans as a whole. People who have been there, their families have been there, they're doing their best, they're building businesses, they're contributing to society, they're paying taxes, they're scraping by because our economy is completely messed up. All of a sudden, someone tries to run over a policeman with a car, and now your entire life is messed up. Your entire life is gone. It was bad enough that you had to live with a bunch of neighbors who come in and they don't believe the same thing as you do. They don't speak the same language. They don't try even to fit in. They have their own communities. They build their own communities. Your government is letting these people move in. The government that is taking your money from taxes that you are making trying to build a business, leeching off of you. And then what happens? Well, your life's just ruined now. For nothing. For literally nothing. And it's so disgusting, and it's so unfair, and it's so unjust. And the world is not just, but we need to fight for it. We need to fight for justice. And not physically. We need to be talking about these things. We need to not be afraid to talk about being proud to be American, being proud to be white, being proud to be whatever they say is evil. You need to be proud of things that matter to you, and you need to go out and you need to say, we need to shut down immigration, or else this is going to keep happening, because it will keep happening. And if they don't do it, you need to hold them accountable, and we need to like build a wall ourselves or something. I don't know what the solution is, but this will keep happening, and this is the sad part. We'll get into the white pill here in just a second, but you cannot commingle all of these demographic, all of these worldviews, all of these religions, all of these cultures. You can't. Melting pots aren't a thing. A melting pot does not exist. Melting pots exist, and then they completely dismantle, and everyone hates it. So it does not work. And what I would rather have happen is instead of more and more riots where they're clearly because of one thing and then the media tells us they're another thing, and like I want to live in a place where my kid can grow up and not have to deal with a civil war. Not have to deal with being like a outcast minority, you know, in a country that my great grandparents helped build. My grandparents, you know, it's like, I don't know, man. It just sucks. It just all sucks to see things get torn down for no reason. It's like a toddler who comes in and he just like, you just built an awesome Millennium Falcon Lego set, and then this friend that you don't even like, you just invited him to his birthday party because you thought he looked lonely. He comes over and he accidentally throws it off the stairs. It's exactly like that. And you didn't invite this kid. Your mom invited the kid because your mom doesn't have to go to the party. Your mom's there making cakes. She's handing out cupcakes. She's blowing out candles. You know, she's lighting the candles. She's taking care of the presents. She's doing all this. Your mom doesn't have to play with this weird outcast kid. But this outcast kid comes into your home, starts messing with your Legos, and eventually throws off your Millennium Falcon. Throws it off the stairs. It's busted now. This is exactly what's this is exactly what's going on. This is a one-to-one analogy. This is exactly what's at. France is the Toy Story house. CGI Toy Story house. You are having a birthday party, a baguette birthday party with all of your friends. You're going to play Legos. You're going to have a grand old time. Your mom buys Mary Kay makeup from this crazy lady down the street, and she has this weird meth baby, this kid that no one likes, and not because no one just likes him, it's because he's weird. You usually try and avoid him when you play with him, but your mom's like, you need to invite this kid. You invite him in, and he tosses your bed, he throws your Lego set. He tries to put his finger up your dog's butt or something weird. He like ruins your life, right? There's no coming back from it. And then you just have to sit there. You can't do anything to your mom because she's your mom. There's nothing you can do to the kid because you'll get in trouble if you do something to the kid. All you can do is just sit there and be like, why is this kid in our house? It's literally the perfect analogy. We had a kid back when I was young. He came over, really weird kid. He knocked on the door and he's like, I have to pee. And we're like, okay. He lived like 3 doors down. We're like, why don't you go home and pee? He's like, no, I really got to go. He came in, walked into our bathroom, peed all in our tub. A dry tub. He didn't even wash it down. And our toilet was right next to the tub. He literally just opened the shower curtain, peed all in our tub. It was the most disgusting thing I think I've ever seen. I was shocked. This kid that I'm talking about, this pea kid, he's a Muslim. spiritually, he's a Muslim. He's an African. Less cultured, peas in tubs, comes over to your house and just starts letting it fly, man. I'm not here for it. I'm here for everyone sitting down, playing with a Stretch Armstrong, taking their turns at Super Smash Bros. And eating cake, and then going home. Just like we've always done, just what makes parties great. Parties have always been great because they have a structure. And then this kid comes in, starts opening presents for you. You ever been to a party where some random kid just starts opening the other person's presents? Usually it's like younger siblings or something, but like there's a rule here where the person the present is for, they open the present. I don't want this random kid opening all the presents and everyone refusing to do anything about it, just sitting there watching him. Not only that, inviting more weird kids into the house. Like, God. Anyways, I'm completely off the rails here, but so true, so true. Everyone's saying it. Everyone's saying it's the most true analogy they've ever heard. I hear it all the time. Everyone's been to a party. Everyone's had their mom do something like that, and you're like, Mom, I'm not having it. I'm not having it, Mom. And in this story, the mom is Jewish. Coincidentally. With no other... That's the birthday party story. That's not the real life story. A childless European communist. You know, these are the people who are doing this to us. And it doesn't hurt the mom. The mom gets to go out and get drunk out on the patio. The mom gets to go back there and read about Meghan Markle while this insane Boo Radley type kid is running around pissing in your bathtub. And the mom's out there drinking mojitos, trying to get a peek across the yard at the buff neighbor trying to mow his lawn, trying to weed whack. She's sitting there thinking, I wish I would get my weeds whacked. You know, you can just imagine the scene. Everyone knows what is going on here. This is what's happening in France. This is what's happening in France. This is why you tune into my show. Classic. A story as old as time. Check this out. Let's refresh the palate a little bit. Let's watch this white pill video, okay? Father of the Year.
In a vote to allow trans students to use whatever bathroom they wish, you assured us that these policies were perfectly safe, as neither yourself nor law enforcement could provide a single example of any trans student assaulting any girl in any bathroom, in any school, in any state, anywhere at all, in fact. But not to worry, since you couldn't locate them, I took the trouble too. See, Loudoun County, Virginia, where last year, under district policy, a trans student was allowed into the women's bathroom where he assaulted a girl. To cover it up, they moved him to another school where he did it again. See, Irvine, California last month, where a trans student entered the women's locker room and flashed the girls there. When they confronted him, he mercilessly beat them. This happened again in Gwinnett County, Georgia. This happened again in Oklahoma City. This happened again in Ohio, where a trans man was allowed to use the locker room where he was arrested for flashing little girls. The judge dropped the charges after he ruled that this man was too fat for them to see anything. Last month, in this city, a man using they-them pronouns in a scene straight out of Silence of the Lambs hunted down and killed a female jogger because he, quote, wanted to look just like her. And before you say that these are anecdotal evidence, just note that in a survey of trans inmates in federal prisons, half were convicted of sexual assault and 90% were convicted of violent crimes, well above the general prison population. Now, it should also be noted that in each of these cases, Each of these perpetrators had either changed their pronouns, had undergone transition, or had received gender-affirming therapy and accommodations thereof. Why is this important to note? Probably for the same reason we recognize as a society that you do not affirm that people with anorexia can be healthy in any way. You do not affirm that somebody with schizophrenia is hearing voices. And you do not affirm that somebody in a manic episode is having great ideas. Because when you leave somebody to languish in their false mental state, i.e. men who think they are women, they will inevitably lash out and harm themselves and those around them. Hurt people hurt other people. But I don't want to pretend and have the hubris to think that I'm going to be the one to change your mind. I'm happy to share any and all of these examples with you. But you will most likely leave here tonight believing that men can become women, affirming care works, and that you made the right vote. But you will no longer be able to look into the eyes of your constituents and honestly say that you are unaware of the assaults that inevitably take place when we declare to women, you have no right to privacy. Thank you very much.
Amazing. If that's not a white pill, I don't know what is. Such a good speech, too. I really liked it. It was really well structured. It was a great speech, great points, great on him saying that they won't change their mind, but they cannot have an excuse anymore. Like, that's a great tact. So this is my white pill, along with what we've already glanced over, where the Supreme Court seems to just be going Chad mode on everyone. This is the type of this speech and this man. This is the type of person that anyone can be. This is just from the looks of it, a council meeting. What is this? Let me check. I'm pretty sure it's just a council meeting, and this dude just showed up with a great speech.
Several weeks ago.
Oops. He just showed up with a great speech, great presence, and he dunked on him, you know? If everyone who believed these things was out doing this, the conversation would be completely different. And the conversation is starting to change. I truly believe that. I feel it in the air. There's a lot of stuff going on that is prerequisite for a true cultural change to happen. Like I was talking about the other day with Christianity and with Islam. This debate is nothing but positive. Despite how lame the debate is sometimes, it does need to happen in whatever way, shape, or form. People like this need to start going to council meetings. I encourage everyone who's watching this, at any point in time if you watch it, try and figure out what you can do, what talents you can use to make a change locally. Because the same with any project that is worth embarking upon, if you think about how daunting it is, how little you can do, how insignificant you are, you will never do anything. You'll sit there, you'll play video games, and you'll be maidenless. All you got to do is just take this little spark of inspiration, whatever it is, whether it's this video, whether it's my stream, whether it's someone else's, whether it's a Twitter post, whatever you got. We all feel inspiration at certain points. Whenever that hits, go do something little. Right after it hits. You know the feeling I'm talking about, right? You'll hear something, you'll agree with it, you'll be like, oh, that's so true. And you'll feel kind of like amped up about it. Stop what you're doing right when you do that, right when you feel that. Don't sit, don't put it off. Go and do something actionable. It doesn't even have to be big. Even if it's just writing down an idea in your journal or whatever, making an art or, making a post, whatever. Do something creative, because that spark is, for me at least, and I would assume it's similar for most people, that spark is inspiration. You need to go, that is a God-given inspiration. That is how God speaks to you. That feeling that you get where you're like, oh man, you feel empowered, you feel like that's something I can do. Go do it. Don't waste that. Don't do it. And I got to get better at this too. But that's also why I started this stream. It's like, felt like it was the right thing to do, And now I'm out here preaching to my wife and my family, and maybe it'll go somewhere, maybe it won't, but like if everyone who does that when they get that feeling, and everyone knows that feeling, if you just do something, no matter how little, change the world. It could change the world, you know, it could change, if nothing else, it'll change you into someone who's habitually productive, not someone who just thinks about how daunting everything is, you know? So, that's the white pill. I'm going to go enjoy the time with my family, have some dinner, drink the rest of this scotch and cola. It's going to be a good one. I hope you guys all have a great weekend. Is there anything else that we need to cover? I'm pretty sure that hits most all of it. I'll be keeping an eye on this. If there's anything interesting coming from the France story or what have you, I'll be posting it on Twitter. But on that note, I'll see you guys Monday, 5 p.m. PST, 8 p.m. EST, right here on both Slum TV and at Controlled Substance Show. Should be getting another edit up probably this weekend. Maybe I'll take the story. I liked the story. Maybe I'll take the story about the kid's birthday party and make a little edit around it. But we will see. We will see. If you haven't already, go and check out my We Gotta Save These Gays video. I think it's a pretty good edit. And I think there's a little kernel of love in there for our homosexual human brothers. That's it. Later, guys. Have a good one.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.